I grew up facing all three of these. I used to go to prayer meetings when I was a kid, in different home churches, and even at my home. My family loved to pray. Sometimes I'd be praying, I'd be sitting there praying for hours with them. Sometimes it felt like days. We would go to churches and you'd feel, that 50 people in the congregation were doing 10-second shotgun prayers, while other people, would take half an hour to an hour, and, you'd almost want to pass out. And so uh, I grew up in a home where if you didn't pray a long time and if it wasn't flowery, you were judged on it. And it became, very judgy. You didn't pray enough. You weren't connecting with God enough. And I think at times in our lives, there are prayer meetings or situations where we need to pray and really think about the different corporate, fellowships. And we really need to cry out to God in these specific situations or problems. But I think as I got older, I really started seeing people for people, not for the prayers that they were supposed to be able to say. And at the time, I was really judging people, and I uh, I didn't think people were spiritual enough if they didn't know how to pray properly. And for that, I really do apologize. If any of you are watching and that was I judged you or you felt judged by me, I'm really sorry about that. And I'm sure you might have experienced people who've treated you that way. But as I read the Bible, I realized that something called the prayer closet was something that people needed to focus on a lot more. And it's praying on your own. It's your prayer life on your own that is true communication. If you have a relationship with a great friend, you'll want to talk to them about anything and everything. You'll want to have intimate time with them. You'll want to either pick up the phone or get on a live chat or a chat, or you'll want to meet them in person or go for a walk, and you want to explore different avenues. You're not going to want to shotgun it. And of course, you can do it in a corporate prayer because God is God, but you're usually not going to get too personal in a large setting. You want to do it on an individual basis. Now, throughout the day, there's the concept of praying without ceasing, which is a constant, prayer and thought process. And that's essentially, we're watching a cop show called The Rookie, and it's a lot about partners. And, I feel like, whether, you want to say Jesus take the wheel or Jesus already has the wheel and I'm the passenger, you're riding along, you're like for me, I drive a lot, and I feel like God is with me all the time. My perfect parent is constantly in communication with me, and I am constantly praying without ceasing. And it doesn't sound like a flowery prayer. Um, oh, thanks, Babu. I appreciate you. Uh, but at the end of the day, when you're praying with that perfect parent, you're constantly going to be able to funnel out a lot of the garbage, filter out a lot of the garbage, I should say. And I find that when I'm at work or I'm in tough situations, it really helps me to center myself. So I think that's the concept of, again, praying without ceasing. Is it's not like you're constantly nonstop, you don't do anything else, you're praying. What you're actually doing is you're spending that time to acknowledge that God's presence is there, and you are sharing your feelings, your thoughts on a consistent basis. And I found that the Holy Spirit can connect with me in various ways as I'm talking to the Spirit, and I can ask the Spirit to intercede on my behalf. There's been many times, whether it's, again, in traffic, I spend so much time in traffic, or at work where I'm not having a great day, or I just don't feel like I'm as, I'm good enough. And, God sends something along the way to make me feel better about myself, or a situation, or allows me to escape a horrible car accident, which has happened a lot these days because Toronto is getting worse and worse with the traffic. So as I've gotten older, I've matured in that thought process of what prayer actually means. Throughout this whole time, I was always bombarded with the Lord's Prayer, and I'd heard that at different churches and at home. I memorized it, and for the most part, it was something that I always would get through. Again, it's that just say it and rush out the door kind of thing. If you don't have a prayer to say right away, or a new Christian, you just kind of say, hey, say this prayer and it covers all the bases. But one day there was this pastor that I was listening to in my mid-20s, and he broke down the prayer, and he kind of gave a template on it. It wasn't a template I'm giving to you tonight, but he was just breaking down the validity of that prayer. And over the years, it's definitely changed the way I pray. And, I don't judge people as much anymore because I just see the beauty in also simplicity. I've also realized that different people communicate with God in different ways. For instance, my wife is a woman who loves worship. She prays during worship time. She sings. She does worship through her work. Worship, essentially, in a biblical term, is to do work or works, and to glorify God. And even tangent for a second, but even in heaven, sometimes we think, we're just going to be standing there worshiping God. Well, we're going to be doing, if the biblical understanding that I have is correct, we're going to be doing work. We're going to be fulfilling what earth should have been, which is a perfect place to build, to live, to explore, to tend the earth, to eat the best food that we've ever had, which, if any of you know, I used to be over 300 pounds. I love food. So looking forward to that wonderful food. So as time progressed, and I realized that different people communicated with God in a different way, well, I started to just understand that I didn't have to live up to anyone else's expectations of the way I should pray, and I shouldn't be putting my expectations on other people to learn how to pray. I'm still learning a lot. And so, in that way, as I move on tonight, I hope that this will help you. If you're new to prayer, or if you would like to learn how to pray in a more systematic way, or to not forget anything, we can follow what Jesus said.